Jen Higgins is the winner of the first match of the USBC Queens, presented by Storm, defeating Linda Barnes 208 to 173. Step-ladder format now puts Jen Higgins against the number 3 seed in Leanne Hulsenberg, another Hall of Famer. And first off, Chris, Jen Higgins took advantage of a couple of opportunities. She had a couple of shots go through the face that might have tilted this match in a different direction.
Well, sure, in a close match when the lanes are hard, some small breaks can make all the difference. But what she did is she took advantage of those breaks, and that was all the difference.
All right, Leanne Hulsenberg has won the U.S. Open 2 years ago at Cowboy Stadium. She won the Queens back in the 90s. Tremendous player, 27 championships. Is she underrated?
Well, you know, I think she is. The tour has been gone for almost 10 years now, and if she was still around, if the tour was still around, she would have more than those extra 5 titles. She's behind the all-time leader, in my opinion. She doesn't have a whole lot of, hey, look at me. She's a very understated and a very quiet Midwest reserve kind of player, but she's got an awful lot of game, and I think she'd have probably 35 titles by now.
A very unique talent. We're going to show you some of her footwork, too, which may not be for everybody, but it certainly worked for her. It'll be Hulsenberg and Higgins coming up next in our second match of the USBC Queens, on the way to $20,000, a tiara, and the right to be called a major champion.
13 USBC Queens, presented by Storm.
That's Leanne Hulsenberg, the Hall of Famer. There she is in the pink on the left side of your screen. Jen Higgins will start the match. And as she did in her first match, victory over Linda Barnes, it'll be the left lane.
Difference being this time Leanne chose. In the first match, Jen did.
And the 7-pin stays, didn't quite behave. May have known her as Jen Petrick back in her early days. Now she's married to Dan, and you've seen Dan a couple of times already. This is a big opportunity for her to really make the splash. There's Dan. In her career, she's been close. You noticed that right away. What happened?
Yeah, just got it. The key when you're shooting left side spares is you really need to get your body walking towards it. And you could see that she'd got it trapped behind her. We talked about her getting her swing a little bit away. It got behind her at the end. She was trying to pull it through back on line and just couldn't make it.
Now, the number 3 seed from North Ogden, Utah, Leanne Hulsenberg.
Only Lisa Wagner and Alita Still have more titles in women's bowling, 32 and 31 respectively. And also a stubborn 7-pin. Leanne has been on television over 100 times. I mean, this is an unbelievably experienced player. And you said she might be the best field player. What do you mean by that?
Well, you can see by her approach, she walks a lot left. She has tremendous feel at the bottom, and by that, she may walk a little bit further left on some shots than others, but she has such good touch at the bottom. She'll hit those shots a little more, throw it a little slower.
She almost looked like she hit her ankle or something with that. I'm not 100% sure. Well, that's a rocky start for both players, and another huge break for Jen Higgins.
You know, one of the things that we have here, you see her big step left, and she just got a little out of time.
Well, even with over
stuck a little bit. We have uncharacteristic humidity here in Las Vegas. The approaches have been very tacky compared to usual.
But again, the experience, she was able to shake that off. Yeah, it's a good point about the humidity. That's something that came up a couple of days into this event.
You watch this Gold IQ Tour get all the way out to around 7-8. And the thing about Leanne, she uses less ball speed and more axis rotation. Lets the ball save energy longer down the lane and allows her to get it back from a much wider spot than the other players.
No problem. Powerful strike by Jen Higgins, and we're even after the first couple of frames.
And we saw Jen do this in Game 3 last night. She went back to this champion, and she was playing further right than all the other players and created hold instead of getting it back. Everybody you're going to see from now on is going to create right with rev rate, with ball speed, with axis rotation. Jen's going to stay a little further right and stay up and at him and create hold. And if that lasts, she's going to be a handful.
Carolyn, I know you know Leanne's game very, very well.
Yes. One thing is, Leanne hooked it when nobody else did, and she adjusted her game over the years to make sure she could play straight and hook it. And the ball she chose for tonight in the goal ball was that it also gave her a little bit of hold, which was something she didn't have in the beginning of the week on the fresh. And as the week progressed, this ball allowed her a little room to the right. It was smooth off the spot, but also gave her that little bit of hold when she missed left.
Thank you, CDB. We're getting a re-rack here called for by Jen Higgins. 2013 Ohio Queens champion. And got away with just a correction there. That was not one that she called for. That was a mechanical issue. It's not one of her two that she can keep in her pocket.
A little bit of an adjustment here, but goes right through, splits the 2-3. Fortunate to break everything down and turn it into a 4-pin. And this time, a low stress conversion.
Yeah. There's no low stress going on in that man's mind, Dan, her husband. Of course, Leanne's got her husband here and her son, who's now 4, if you remember from the U.S. Open at Cowboy Stadium. Barrett, he is here as well. Gary is her husband, of course. And it did. Well, let's look at her footwork. I think it's very unique. This is her on the left 10 years ago.
And aside from the hair, the one thing you can notice, obviously, is her right foot is wide open early. But the same thing, that step left and step 3. It's where she clears her body, allows her swing to get a bigger loop, and allows her to throw it left to right much quicker. It makes it also harder for her to throw it straight, but it's one of her advantages. Once the lanes break down, there's few people that can keep up with her.
And after the open frame where she missed, there's Madden. And actually, that's not Madden. Deandra Beatty is our defending champion. There is Barrett, so she's keeping an eye on Barrett. And there's off to Deandra's left shoulder. There he is in the glasses. That is Gary. And Deandra, of course, will be on hand as the defending champion always does to present the tiara to the winner. Nice. And now we're starting to see these players get warmed up. 2 strikes out of 4 frames for Jen Higgins, but with Leanne's start, Higgins down by 20-4.
Really important that she comes out with a double here, not let Leanne get too far ahead. Pretty good shot on this lane in the first frame for the 7-pin. Last one not quite as good. Tried to make it hook. Making it hook's not a good idea most of the time.
Makeable on that 610, but when she's missed right through the nose. And it happened again.
She just gets forward here and her shoulder gets out in front. You can see it even from the back. Anytime the shoulder gets that far out in front of your knee, it's awfully hard to get the ball going left to right.
Simple conversion for Jen Higgins. Monday Night Football is back on ESPN with a doubleheader. At 6:55 Eastern, the Eagles take on Washington. Then at 10:15, the Texans battle the Chargers. Coverage begins with Monday Night Countdown at 5. Monday Night Football tomorrow at 6:55 and 10:15 on ESPN. Also live on the Watch ESPN app. Four-bagger. And as I mentioned earlier, from what I've seen over the years, she's one of the absolute streakiest players out there.
Yes, when she can get into that rhythm where she doesn't have any pull and grab as she's getting her swing. She's got great feel at the bottom. Last time she was begging for it to hook. That one she didn't have to beg at all. Both of them got to about the same part of the pocket. That's not good news for the rest of the field.
So can she carry this over as the matches go on if she continues to do well?
She'll be the furthest left of everyone. So basically everyone's going to break down the lane to the right of her and create more dry right at where she's at. They shouldn't get any harder for her. It's just about managing the energy.
5 strikes in a row for the Hall of Famer Leanne Hulsenberg, and she has been flush on every single one of them. 10 straight back right here. And the Hall of Famer has command of the second match of the USBC Queens, presented by Storm. Inside the strike zone at Sunset Station Hotel and Casino in Henderson in the Las Vegas suburbs. Our host and a gracious one for this event. There's the situation here. Leanne Hulsenberg with a 40-pin advantage after 5 straight strikes after missing a 7-pin in the first frame. And Jen Higgins has bowled well. She defeated Linda Barnes in the first match, but right now she's into a tough situation with Hulsenberg. Not surprisingly. 4-6.
I think it's one of the hardest shots in bowling, especially on TV, is that right out of the commercial break. You sit for 3 minutes, 4 minutes. The tendency is to miss left a little. This one cuts right through, and this time no help. The 2 and 3 go right around the 4 and 6.
Well, her max just dropped down to 216, and she is way behind, and she's going to need as much misfortune from Leanne Hulsenberg as she's going to need her own good fortune. I'm Dave. Chris Barnes here with me in the booth, and Hall of Famer Carolyn Doran Ballard, our laneside reporter. Of course, Carolyn bowled in this event and a past champion in the Queens. Great recovery. Got the late fall on the 4 and the 9. And that's really all she can do.
Well, really, with Leanne being on a 220 type pace, if she just marks out, all Jen can do is strike out from here on to put a little bit of pressure and make her stay clean. And hope that Leanne would open a little bit. You see the keys we have to Leanne's is controlling the break point. Most people think big players that hook it this much, but they actually get it way down the lane and hook it. Her key this week was getting it to go smooth off the end of the break point, getting it to roll in the mid lane, and once she controlled the mid lane, she could control the scoring base, and it went way up for her at that point. And like any good field player, the rhythm is key. So getting into that little rhythm. First frame, she kind of got some stuff out of the way right off the bat and kind of seemed to shake everything loose and got her a little bit free.
The footwork, to me, is very unique. Would you teach that to anybody?
Generally not that big a move left, where that third step with your left foot goes about 6 to 7 boards left right there. But it does create some of the things that make her unique and such a good player from the left side of the lane.
So leaving the sleeper back there.
Here, as you get a look at her feet. First one, and then that giant step left. But the one thing you'll notice, as in every good bowler, her last 2 steps are in line. No matter how far you walk left, if those last 2 are in line, you can still get it to where you want to. Your balance will be on. Your leverage will still stay strong.
So it's kind of like a Jim Furyk golf swing. He may bring it back differently, but at the end, it's what counts is when you make contact.
Exactly.
And no trouble for Leanne. And if she just stays clean, there's really nothing that Jen can do here. And by staying clean, we mean no mistakes, no opens. Shayna Ung from Singapore awaits the winner, the number 2 seed, who was a dominant player in this event. From the second they turned on the lights. And there's your very favorite, the 3-6-10.
Yeah, this is never an easy spare when the lanes are hard. This one, she looks like she caught a handful of it. She tried to move in a little bit, create a little space there, and it just never got far enough right. Picked up in the front, and on this right lane, there's certainly more friction in the front of the lane than on the left lane.
Avoided the chop to pick up the spare, but she's down 50 and we're running out of frames. You know, there's a new way to get your children into bowling. The USA Bowling program provides a coach, practices, and team competition, and it's getting high marks in both the children and parents. To learn more, please visit bowl.com/USA Bowling. Just knocked the 2-pin slightly off stride.
A natural reaction off the hooking lane and the ball going high is then getting a little bit further right on this tighter lane and not making it back now.
So Leanne Hulsenberg is going to advance into the next match. And that's going to be really interesting to watch her and Shayna Ung. And Shayna Ung, you may not be familiar with the name in the United States, but worldwide, she is well known. Then again, in bowling, so is Leanne.
Yeah, so it's going to be a battle of the Titans here. Shayna, if I wanted to compare her to someone, is basically the Kelly Kulik of the Far East of Asia. Won a lot of titles. See Leanne getting it going right again, and the extra entry angle, just shaking up the pins and seemingly make it effortless to strike on the same shots that both Linda and Jen have struggled to knock over on a consistent basis.
It's interesting you mentioned Kelly. There was an elimination day here, and we saw great players knocked out, past champions like Liv Johnson, Kelly Kulik. And Deandre got knocked out. Kim Kearney was defeated. Shannon Pluhowski has been a brilliant player. There was one day here where a lot of very famous bowlers were going into the back and grabbing their equipment and heading out. If Leanne Hulsenberg can pull this off, if she can go from the number 3 position and win the championship, she'll set a record for the longest wait in between Queen's championships.
And how long is that wait, Dave?
You know, I thought you'd never ask. She won this title in 1999. Not by bowling like that, but she was 9th at the 2012 Queens. So that would be the new record. You're the math guy. How many years? 14, right?
Seems about right.
Yep. Well, she's taken one step up that step ladder to get there. But coming up, a significant challenge for this experienced player, Leanne Hulsenberg. Jen Higgins, this could be a breakout event for her. It's going to be interesting to see what she's going to be able to do from this for the major championships next year and the 2014 Queens, also to be held in the Silver State. Nice way to finish. Leanne Hulsenberg. Shayna Ung and Leanne Hulsenberg, our next match. This could be a very high-scoring battle between these two, and the winner will then be in the championship against our number 1 seed. You may not try to bowl like Leanne Hulsenberg. You probably can't. The footwork unique, the results effective.